Fit or flop is what we're going to call it, and
I
we're just
like
going to talk.
this.
We're going to talk about some picks that were made and just the fit overall into a system, whether they were a good fit, and that's coaching staff, that's situation, that's everything, or if they were a flop. One of my first fits, you were just talking about them, the Jets. I like what they're doing. And the reason why I like what they're doing this year is because they went and they took a tackle last year. They started to build the trenches and lay the foundation. And they've kind of been laying this foundation for years now. One of the biggest things when it comes to a young quarterback, which we're assuming that's what they're going to be taking next year in a very quarterback heavy draft, is they need to have weapons. And you went and got them some of the best weapons on the board. You go get Kenyon Sadiq. You go get you trade back into the back half of the first round with the 49ers, I believe, and they end up getting Omar Cooper. They're planning for the future. Whoever they bring in next year is going to be coming into a far better situation than probably anticipated going into this draft. A lot of people thought maybe they'd go defense heavy, maybe they'd really start to build both sides of the trenches, and they made their pick at 2, and then they went and got a bunch of offense. So, I mean, I love it. David Bailey's a great pick. Again, with those top 5 pass rushers, they're really interchangeable. There's no wrong answer. I think if it wasn't one of those two, if it wasn't Bailey or Arvell Reese, it might have been the wrong answer. But they pick who they like better, and I think he's going to do great things there.
Yeah, I love that. Jets were aggressive, and I'll go ahead and tack onto this in terms of having a great fit. And again, I already said this. This is what it looks like when a team sets and executes against a strategy. That means with the 50th pick, the Jets taking D'Angelo Pons. I love D'Angelo Pons. I hate what everybody's talking about with, oh, he's not quite big enough. Have you seen this guy ball? Some
Yeah.
guys just know ball, and they know how to play ball. They've got the instincts. You're talking about your Tyrann Matthews. You're talking about your Jalen Ramseys. You're talking about guys who just have that instinct and that feeling, and that's how the Jets want to play. That's what Aaron Glenn wants to do with his defense. Now, they had 0 interceptions last year, right? So now you're going to get yourself a guy who is going to be aggressive. He's versatile. Is he a little bit smaller? Yeah, but you can still play him in the slot because he's a physical tackler. And this is how you fix the problems on your defense is you get yourself a guy on the back end to replace Sauce Gardner and still have that physical, I'm going to do my best to lock up your number 1 wide receiver. He's got that cockiness, that confidence that you need to have as an NFL corner. I absolutely love the pick. So the Jets have absolutely guaranteed themselves at least 3 interceptions next year with this pick of D'Angelo Pons. I absolutely love this fit.
They also got 2 first rounders next year, which means you go, and one of them is the Colts. So we know the Colts their season this year could go any which way. So all of a sudden, and I know you really like, Jeremiah Love next, or not Jeremiah Love, Jeremiah Smith rather. You don't want to have to spend that pick if you don't have to on a receiver. They did the front loading this year. Now you can go get the best quarterback next year probably, and maybe the best cornerback as well. So they're really just freeing themselves up to make a lot of moves in the future and round it out. So, yep. Put a bow on the Jets. Great job, guys. You're not doing too much great these days, but what a draft. Good for them, man. Things are
I'm
looking
happy
up.
for him. I'm happy for Aaron Glenn. I really thought he was going to be on the hottest hot seat, and they were going to can him
He
already.
still might be, though.
I know, no doubt he's on the hot seat after how poorly the team played last year. But again, I love that they had a committed strategy and they
Yep.
executed it and they're confident in it. That just tells me, hey, we had to get rid of some old things last year. We're bringing in the new officially this year. It was a tough transition. I love it. I love it.
I'm going to get into my next fit before I let you kind of take over on a couple of your fits here. But I got to give a hats off to the Panthers, and I think they picked a couple really good fits. Let me tell you why. Monroe Freeling, they end up going and building an even better line for Bryce Young, who's their future. I think they've kind of decided, at least for the next couple years. They didn't take the bait on Mekhi Lemon. And I think that was the biggest sign of maturity is he was right there. they could use him, of course. Why not? I mean, you still have, Jalen Coker, you still have Tet McMillan, so like rounding out that room is important. But they go and get Chris Brazzell II from Tennessee in one of the later rounds, I think round 3 maybe.
Yep.
And he's the definition of the big body backside receiver, man. So I thought he was one of the steals of the draft. I think he's going to be solid for them. But with some of these younger teams, and when you're really trying to take that next step, obviously, they won the division. They played competitive last year toward the end of the year, and that division's wide open this year. So you go and you solidify, my O-line's going to get better. That's only going to make your run game better. And then you take the leap of faith on somebody else in the third round to kind of round out the receiver room. Got to give hats off to the Panthers on the maturity there.
I love what you mentioned about not taking the bait on going for another weapon for Bryce Young. Your weapons are good enough. He proved that last year. Now, were some things a little bit inconsistent? Yeah, absolutely. But building in the trenches, that offensive line, you know that he needs to see his lanes a specific way because of his height. You know that you need to keep him well protected, whether that's pass protection from your offensive line or your running back. You've got the big body receivers. I love it. Exactly like you said, they didn't take the bait. I thought that was a really, really strong draft from the Carolina Panthers, and just shows that, with some new ownership, somebody new kind of running the head around things, it's looking better. I'm sorry, not new ownership, new head coach.
Right.
New head coach. I love it. I'm excited for him.
What do we got?
My next fit, and this pick I don't think will go viral, but it might be the smartest pick of the year, and that's Caden McDonald, picked by the Texans 36th overall. The Texans got arguably the best run defender in the draft. How do you think Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs and all these other guys had clean run fits? This guy is absorbing he's absorbing blocks, and he's also setting up his team for tackles. Now, you go to this Houston Texans defense. You've got Will Anderson Jr., you've got Daniil Hunter, you've got Al-Shaair, you've got Tuo Oto. I mean, you put him in the middle now. Now you're getting your physical run stopper that's going to soak up blocks. Who do you want to double team? On either side, and it just
good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck. It's going to free up your linebackers to play behind. It's going to free up Daniil Hunter. It's going to free up Will Anderson Jr. Teams are going to have such a tough time dealing with this defense, and they already were having a tough time with it. This just adds another element. And again, you talk about fit in terms of a coaching staff. D'Amico Ryans, a real players coach, and I'm not sure if you saw Caden McDonald, his draft video. He was crying. He was in tears because of how emotional and amazing this moment was. That's a guy you want on your team, and that's the kind of coach, D'Amico Ryans, you want coaching that guy. This is terrifying. The best defense in the NFL just got better.
Yeah, and they did it in the second round too. Like they traded up, and they ended up getting Kalen Rutledge, so they're building the offensive line a little bit. So you use your first pick on that. And then you go to the opposite side, and again, we keep saying it, building the trenches. It's really important. And then, I think we all kind of know their secondary needs some help, but getting Kamari Ramsey from USC in the 5th round is another. Dude, people had him going way higher. He kind of kept falling, and that was kind of similar to a lot of the DBs in this draft that we thought were going to go a lot higher. For whatever reason, they weren't getting taken off the board. So to snag him in the 5th also, great draft. And again, it's about getting the dogs and getting the guys who really love the game, like you said. Those are going to be the difference makers, the ones who are giving that extra 110%.
And Nick Caserio, absolutely, like you said, just nailed this draft. Nick Caserio, he also looked at this and he said, hey, Caden McDonald played with Matt Patricia. You're getting a guy who's played an NFL-style defense, is getting coached up by a guy who's been an excellent defensive coordinator winning the league. I mean, that's just high IQ. That's ball knowledge. That's knowing your personnel to a T. Shout out Nick Caserio. We got to get like a KYP button, and when somebody just absolutely crushes it, we gotta smack that KYP button.
He knows his personnel. That's for sure. Matt Patricia, like you said,
literally his job.
Great coordinator, bad head coach. Do you have any other fits you wanted to talk about?
No other fits, honestly. I got some bad fits, some unfits, some shoes on the wrong foot
I feel like we have one of the same ones. So let's just get it out of the way. Let's take the low-hanging fruit out of the way here. Jeremiah Love, man. And I want to set the table. I'm going to ask you a question. If they restarted the entire NFL right now, let's just say everybody's a free agent, everybody's picking. Do you think a single running back in the entire NFL would be picked in the first round? Everybody has to repick your entire roster. No quarterback, no anybody. Does anybody spend their first pick on a running back?
That's an excellent question. I think there might be
No.
one. If Bijan Robinson is the only one I would consider, and he might go late first, depending on which quarterbacks and which pass rushers went already.
Exactly.
That's
So
the
that's what I'm.
only guy.
And that's the hardest maybe of all time. That's like you secure your pass rusher or QB and you grab him on the way back. I'm assuming snake draft here, but regardless. That's my exact point is with the Arizona Cardinals, they're almost at square one. Like you're looking at their team, you're looking at their best players are getting older. They don't have much of a young core, so it comes down to it's just the Arizona Cardinals committed malpractice by drafting a really talented, really good running back who's going to be great in this league and put him behind a bad O-line because that's a recipe for injuries. That's a recipe for waiting for a team to round out that will take years. And all of a sudden it's going to come time to pay the guy and your team's still not going to be there. So I don't get it. And you agree. All of these teams that we're talking about good fits, like even Tyson at 8, they went and got Kelvin Banks last year. They built their O-line a little bit, and now they're starting to take those risky picks and getting the weapons. We just talked about the Panthers, Jets. Just do it, man. Just start to build out the heart and the core of the team. Prepare for, again, you're going to probably take a quarterback in the next draft because I don't think you fully believe in Carson Beck. That was kind of a take one just to get one type of pick. But, man, I don't know. Get into it.
Jeremiah Love, I don't think he can ever be a wrong fit in terms of his ability, but just the situation he went into it's just not right. And to me, when I look at this Cardinals draft, it looks like they tried to address every need they have. And did they have a lot of needs? Yes, but they didn't decide, hey, we are going to solve this right now with the draft and look at free agency to solve this. And that was the part to me that was concerning, is you took Jeremiah Love, okay, and then you took your guard, and then you took Carson Beck in the third round when there were still some good offensive line talent available. You could have gone 2 offensive line talent, and then you could have gone running back in the third. And again, you signed Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier was already upset. He said, I came and I signed here knowing and assuming that I was going to be the first running back. I was going to be RB1, James Conner. We were going to have this 1-2 punch. It wasn't an absolute need for them. And I get the whole concept of best player available, but you could have either traded down or, again, really leaned on solving the trenches. And yeah, Carson Beck in the third, he could have been there in the fifth. Am I wrong there?
It was a weird quarterback draft, man. He could have been.
I'm not sure what the reason for that was. You've already committed to Jacoby Brissett kind of as your guy for this year. All you needed was a capable backup. And if you're looking to draft somebody to kind of develop over maybe a year or two and then see if they have a chance, to me it wouldn't have been Carson Beck in the third. It would have been Garrett Nussmeier in the first.
Okay.
I'm kidding. But
talk about aging like milk. We don't need to do all that. But
the jury's still out on that. But
we'll wait till next year.
Another excellent player who went to the wrong place. I just think it's a bad fit for him in particular. He's going to be doing. Listen, this guy is going to do more cardio than anybody in the entire NFL, and we got Tua his Tyreek Hill back. We did. The Atlanta Falcons took Zachariah Branch, 79th overall. And again, I love the talent and I love the player. To me, he's the human joystick. But who's the head coach? Football terrorist Kevin Stefanski. What does Kevin
Okay.
What does Kevin Stefanski do? He runs the football 900 times a game with extra guards in the game, with extra tackles, 2 tight end sets, 2 running back sets, 11, 12, 13 personnel. More than most people in the league. And did he adjust his offense a little bit for having some more, what do you call it, spread-based quarterbacks over the last 2 years? Yeah, but you know what he wants to get into. That's why they have Tua on the roster. That's why they have Michael Penix still on the roster. Guys who are timing based, and they're going to absolutely run his system. You're going to have Zachariah Branch out there doing cardio. They want him to take the top off the defense for your deep shot. I love that. It's going to be real attractive in that play action. You're going to try and use him on some jet sweeps as a gadget guy. Okay, cool. But his role is going to be minimized, and I just don't think it's going to be the best fit for him. I think he's, again, an excellent player, but talk about a guy who has so much more potential on an offense being diminished by how the Falcons, I think, are going to run their offense with Kevin Stefanski. I love the pick. I just hate the fit.
Yeah. I don't really have too much for you on this one. Other than obviously, I'm kind of upset that he didn't go to the Dolphins.
Dolphins had multiple chances.
I know, and I just here's what I'll say that I do agree with you is there's teams that picked wide receiver in the same round, but also in the second round that I think he could have went above. Like the Commanders took a receiver. I think that's probably a better fit for him even. I agree, but also at the same time, the Falcons are the Falcons. They don't move me, but football terrorists is crazy. That's crazy.
To me, Kevin Stefanski, and this was part of the issue, and again, he was capped, I think, by Kirk Cousins when he was in Minnesota, but he just runs the same. It's the same offense. And it works when you have an excellent running back. When you had, oh my goodness, who am I forgetting in his prime? Dalvin Cook in his prime. When you have Nick Chubb in his prime and you just run the ball over, it's great. But you wore both of those guys down to the point where they're going to have now injury-sustained careers. We already know running backs have maybe his offense has developed, maybe it hasn't. I don't like the fit for Zachariah Branch. I think he's got more talent than to be reduced to take the top off the defense, but we're not actually going to throw him the ball.
Or get underthrown.
Like you got 2 guys who
I've watched it.
You've got 2 guys who don't have cannons.
Yeah. Whoa, Penix has a gun, man. Okay, we'll get into my next one. This is another flop for me. I wrote all this and I looked into this day of draft. I thought of it. This isn't because the Todd McShay clip that came out today, but what the Jags are doing is beyond me. And this is the pick that I have the issue with is this Nate Borkerker, tight end from A&M. I don't know how to pronounce his name particularly well, but you don't have a first round pick. You end up in the second round. Okay, fine. Pick 56. You don't have really assets to trade into the first round. Your options are pretty limited. But ultimately, your secondary is lacking. Your pass rush is mediocre. Again, this is another division that is very wide open, and you can return and make a real run at. And you pass up on names like Emmanuel McNeil-Warren from Toledo. I really like Davidson Igmanosin from Ohio State. I think that the Bills got a really good pick in him, but you pass up on him. And then I don't know too much about Bud Clark from TCU, but all I know is Seattle does not miss on secondary picks. Whether that was back with Pete Carroll or now with Mike McDonald, they never miss on secondary picks, so they missed by not taking Bud Clark. That's a name we'll hear next year. So I just there were so many better options, and to go tight end of all things, like just one of the lowest needs of any NFL system for that matter. I don't know what the Jags are doing. They're missing out on a time. This is the time. We're trying to prove that the Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence thing is going to work out. It's right now. You had a good year last year. You keep building off of it. You keep moving forward. This felt like they fell flat. It was just a terrible draft in my opinion. And ultimately, I don't know that their offseason really moved me either. So Interesting moves by the Jags. Big
Yeah,
flop.
I liked Gladstone last year. He made the big flashy move to trade up to get Travis Hunter. This year, to me, much like the Cardinals, it seemed like they just tried to get a little bit of everything. They didn't really focus on one side of the ball. Now, offense, you can argue you have enough weapons. With Brian Thomas Jr. hopefully coming back happier and healthier. Jacoby Myers was a great addition. Brenton Strange was a solid tight end for you last year. And I know I'm missing their third wide receiver. I think Parker Washington. Like that's a solid core. You can make a lot happen with that. Running backs, Travis Etienne's out the door. Are you trusting Bishal Tootin? Is he going to be your guy? Could there have been a second-round running back you could have gone for, anything like that? But again, to me, it just seemed like they weren't really committed to trying to solve anything. There wasn't a clear picture in – I don't know if I want to call this tight end a reach per se in the second round, but it kind of seemed like a reach. So I anticipate as Gladstone learns, he'll start to draft better. But yeah, not if I'm Liam Cohen, I'm not thrilled with what has changed for my team, which arguably isn't anything.
No. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Any other flops you got for me?
This is a flop, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me, I think, here. And this, on paper, looks like an absolutely perfect fit, but I'm telling you, I'm just not sure. And it's Shadarian Price at the 32nd pick going to the Seahawks. Everything on paper says we moved on from Kenneth Walker. We still have Charbonnet. Let's go at the back end of the draft, or the back end of the first round, and we are going to get ourselves a running back to replace him. Okay, so you're saying Jadarian Price was the second best running back in the draft, essentially, behind Jeremiah Love, his teammate. Okay, you go back and you watch the tape. A lot of their explosive plays, because of that Notre Dame schedule, there's not really a lot of juice to it. It's big runs against Syracuse. It's big runs against USC that basically was a porous run defense. And it's not to say he's not incredibly talented. He's got a shiftiness and he's got excellent vision. But also part of the problem here is you don't have Clint Kubiak anymore. You've got Brian Fleury. He's now a first-time play caller. So you've got a new offense to install with a first-time play caller. And you want to know where he came from? The San Francisco 49ers. Previously a run game coordinator. Kyle Shanahan designs the plays and calls the plays over there. So you better hope you have a guy that's like Mike McDaniel stepping into that role. Again, coming from an offensive assistant side, not coming coordinator to coordinator. You better hope he's got some magic. Because, again, outside of Jackson Smith and Jigba, that receiving core is not great. It went Jackson Smith and Jigba in a huge drop. So you didn't add another weapon for Sam Darnold in terms of a wide receiving weapon. You got a running back, which, again, I like, but you had Charbonnet already. You could kind of ride him for a full year if you wanted to. You could have found somebody else in free agency. I'm trying to remember who else they have to back him up right now. Oh, Emmanuel Wilson's who you picked up. So you picked up Emmanuel Wilson, who showed some flashes last year with the Packers when Josh Jacobs was out. So, okay, you've got Charbonnet and Wilson. Again, like you could probably make that work. I just don't think it was the right pick. I want this guy to work for them. But again, I would have felt more comfortable in that back end, getting myself another wide receiver weapon. That defense is already excellent. You know it, and you know it's always going to be excellent. I don't know. And I could be totally off here. I'm just worried that that pick could have been used for something else.
I don't think you're totally off, and I agree. We were even texting back and forth. I thought maybe like a Denzel Boston being there for him would be like, oh, we're going to snag him while we can, and that would be a great compliment to that wide receiver room. But then you go and look at who would the next running back was that was taken. It was Kalen Black from Indiana, and that was until the third round. So that makes me think that Price would have been around for a bit, and even then, like if you stick around, you miss out on Price.
He was considered a reach by the Niners.
Exactly, and even then, like he's going to be a serviceable back. Again, we that fall off is pretty big though between those two players. But no, I think you're right. I think it was, but this is my only argument against being mad at it is, when you have these luxuries, man, who cares? You know, you can go make those picks. You just won the Super Bowl. You don't have many holes. You didn't lose many guys. Your secondary is probably the biggest need you said, or like I said, and they think Bud Clark's the guy. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
You got
What
Bud
else
Clark,
do you do?
You got Imanwari. You've got Witherspoon. You've got there's another the other
So
cat,
cold.
the long armed guy. Had a great rookie season and then kind of got washed. Anyways, yeah, your
Tariq
defense.
Woolen, he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yes. Yep. I forget which team, but he's out the door.
Was it the Eagles? Honestly, I feel like that's something Howie Roseman would have done.
I think it is. Yeah, I think you're 100% right, actually.
Yeah. But yeah, you could
Yeah.
like Avion Terrell was still there if you wanted to replace a corner. Again, I don't hate the pick. I just don't love the fit, and I've got a lot of question marks with that offense because that offense was not good for a number of years. And you get blessed with Clint Kubiak, and he's out the door after 1 year. That's a lot of turnover. Everybody's got to learn the new offense. You went Ryan Grubb to Kubiak to Fleury. Like it's a lot of change really quick. You know the defense is going to be fine, but anyways,
We'll see how it goes for him. But
we'll see how it goes.
all right.